All right, welcome back. Getting back to the coronation of Mark Carney on the weekend. I mean, think about it. What if every vote in an election fell into a pattern so flawless it really defies all odds? In a shocking report, Rebel News founder Ezra Levant is going to reveal how Mark Carney's leadership victory came with near identical numbers in every riding, even in the heartlands of his fiercest rivals, with vote totals that seem too perfect to be true. Ezra is, again, founder of Rebel News, host of the Ezra Levant Show, author of The Libranos, China Virus, and most recently, Trudeau's Secret Plan. Ezra, welcome back. How are you?
It's great to be back on the show. Thanks for having me. You know, it's the strangest thing. Over the weekend, I saw that the Liberals had claimed they had 400,000 people registered to vote, just under 400,000. I thought, boy, that's actually a pretty big number. That's 1% of Canadians when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, in the end, only 151,000 were verified.
Mm.
What does that mean? So almost 2/3 of the people who registered, their votes weren't verified. Now, I suppose some people tried and couldn't, and some people forgot, but 2/3 of the votes not counting? I mean, if I said to you, your local mayor got 40,000 votes, but there were 100,000 spoiled ballots. If I told you that, you'd say, what? That's weird. Who did that happen? Who did this? And then when you learned that it was all online, you'd say, well, were they hacked or were they from out of country or were they all from the same IP? You would have a lot of questions, but no one seemed to ask them. I thought, well, that's odd. But then the craziest thing was yesterday when the Liberal Party, and it's on their website right now, they have a riding by riding total of every single vote. I mentioned they have 151,899 votes. Okay. And then they break it down riding by riding. And I just started going through them. It's by province alphabetically. So Avalon in Newfoundland, Mark Carney got 87.5. Cape Spear, 89. I'm talking percentages now. 89.89. 82 point, like I'm thinking, and I go through dozens and dozens of these, and they're all so close together. And then I just started, well, what about this riding that I know a little bit about? And what about that riding that I know a little about? And the numbers they're not precise, but they're within a very, very narrow band. And then I said, okay, well, what about the riding where Chrystia Freeland is from? It's called University-Rosedale. And people can follow along and do this themselves. I almost didn't believe it. I encourage you to go to the Liberal website. So in University-Rosedale, there were 1,322 votes for Mark Carney. That's pretty healthy. And for Chrystia Freeland, who has lived and worked and been the MP there for almost a decade, maybe it's more than a decade now, the grand total of number of individual people who voted for her, I'll get to the percentage in a second, but the grand total number in her home riding, she lives there, her family lives there, her friends live there, her neighbors live there, her staff live there, her campaign office is there. 188 people, including her herself. So you're telling me that the most visible politician in the country after Justin Trudeau, who, like her or hate her, she's got a work ethic. I don't like her much, but that woman works. She's not lazy. 188 people, including her and her husband. So take away her and her husband. There's 186 people there's 100,000 people in it. I don't believe it. And then I did the same thing in Karina Gould. That was one of the other candidates. There were 4 candidates. Again, cabinet minister, lives her whole life in Burlington. I bet you Mark Carney has never even visited Burlington. He's just not a Burlington kind of guy. He's a 3 passports kind of guy. Same thing. Mark Carney has 818 votes in Burlington, and Karina Gould has 190.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Really? And then I thought, okay, well, let's just look at some French ridings, and let's look at some Calgary ridings, and then let's look at the far north, and let's look at some Indigenous ridings, and they're all there. And I give the Liberal Party credit. They have all their data. They show you the raw number of votes, and then they have the percentage. And that's what's so incredible to me. is
It's
there's no way this is statistically possible.
Yeah, have you hired a young, I don't know, York University grad to do a statistical analysis? I mean, what are the odds?
I haven't hired anyone, but you'd be surprised how many people saw my video on this and contacted me with their statistical analysis. And by the way, I don't know if you've ever used Grok.com, Grok. That's the new AI that's paired up with Twitter. So it's actually pretty easy to use. And Grok is pretty good. I've used it. I now Grok things. I don't Google them. And Grok, you'll give it some pretty good instructions. And a bunch of people use that AI tool to run statistical regressions, if I'm using that phrase right. What's the likelihood of this happening? And one of them said there's a 2% chance that this is real. There's a 98% chance this is fake. And another one, and now, of course, any research is only as good as the inputs you make. Another one said this is as close to impossible as you can imagine. And I would just want to know, and you could say, is it statistically possible that Mark Carney got 85.9% in every bloody riding, plus or minus only 5%? Like there wasn't a single riding where Chrystia Freeland even came close to winning. There wasn't a single riding that Karina Gould even came close to being in second. Is this for real? Stan Bayless, I forget Bayless's first name.
Frank?
Frank Bayless, excuse me. Is it for real that even in his own riding, he's a single digits or double digits kind of guy? That doesn't make sense either. I wish that Chrystia Freeland or Karina Gould or Frank Bayless would answer the question, do you trust these numbers in your own home riding? But they won't be asked that, and I don't think they'll answer. And if you remember the debate, Richard, it was not a debate, it was a love-in, it was an agree-a-thon. And here's my theory. My theory is this whole thing was a stitch-up. Mm-hmm. This whole thing was agreed upon in advance. I felt that way when I watched the debates, and they all agreed with each other. It was like they were auditioning for cabinet.
Yeah.
In fact, there was this one moment where Mark Carney said something in French a little bit inaccurate. He said, we're all with Hamas. He translated it wrong. Oh, and his rival, Chrystia Freeland, corrected it for him. She didn't pounce. There wasn't a single attack in 2 nights of debates. And there hasn't been any attack. The only attacker, named Ruby Dalla, was disqualified after they took her $350,000 and then disqualified her. I think they said, just make some numbers, give Carney 85.9%, and Chrystia will come in next, and then Karina, and then Frank Bayless, and then just mix it up a little bit. Just mix up a little, but not too much.
Yeah, they were stage props.
And I think whoever did that did it.
Yeah. Were there scrutineers? Do we know? I mean, how are these?
Well,
votes?
That's the thing. How do you have a scrutineer if it's all done by computer?
Mm.
And what are the algorithms? Like when you exclude 2/3 of the votes, on what basis? And you're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes just in a matter of hours. Who's reviewing them? On what standard? On what basis? Hey, I got a question for you. I don't know if you know anything about hackers. I don't know a lot, I'll tell you that. But I know that there's some countries that are really good at it. Russia, North Korea, China, Iran, America. I put Israel in there too. Do you think that when the Liberals announced they were having an online computer-based leadership, that those countries, any of them, all of them, had an interest in the result? And you know that criminal law idea that police use, means, motive, and opportunity. Did the Chinese government, I'm just picking on the Chinese government because they, according to CSIS, tried to interfere in 11 different districts in a previous Canadian election. If you could actually get in there and select the Prime Minister himself, not just mess around in Han Dong's local riding, if you could get in there and choose the Prime Minister himself, would you have the motive? Oh, yes, you would. Would you have the means? Do you think the People's Liberation Army is able to hack the Liberal Party website? They've hacked the Pentagon. Yeah. They've hacked the Social Security network. They hacked Nortel. Oh, I think they can hack the Liberal Party website. Means, motives, and opportunity.
Well, we're not going to get an audit, likely, I don't think, because, I mean, it's a private club, right? It's the liberal private club. It's the Wild West when it comes to party elections. We know that. I mean, is there any way that the RCMP could be called in to investigate this? I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Elections Canada didn't lift a finger for Chinese interference. They spent 5 years coming after me for a book I wrote about Trudeau. CSIS and the RCMP, you bet, but they'd have to be invited in, I think. And like I say, it's a deal. It's a compact. They kicked out the one rebellious one, Ruby Dalla, and there was another guy, Arya, I forget his name, Arya Chandra, I think was his name. They kicked him out early because he said something about bilingualism that they didn't want. So Chrystia Freeland allegedly only has 188 votes in her own hometown because whoever faked the numbers didn't think about little quirks like that, didn't think there's no way Mark Carney's going to win all the most francophone ridings in Quebec, the most indigenous ridings in the north. He didn't think about it. He just said, okay, I'm going to make a computer program that's going to spit out 85.9% plus or minus 5. You look at those numbers with your own eyes and you know you don't have to be a mathematician to know they're fake.
And the credulous mainstream media just totally ignoring this story.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty terrible to think about. It's terrifying to contemplate, is this happening? Now, by the way, I could be wrong. It is statistically possible that Chrystia Freeland only had 188 votes after 10 years of work, and it's possible she only has 188 friends.
She's a deputy prime minister. She was the deputy prime minister. Love her or hate her.
And at her campaign launch, she had more than 188 people, and that was just in one room, physically. It's scientifically possible, I suppose. You know, there's this old movie called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's a funny old movie with some classic actors in it, and it starts off with two guys flipping a coin, and they get heads like 100 times in a row, and they're just baffled by this. It's possible. It's pretty bloody rare, but it's possible, and that's what I would say here. If you think someone who flipped a coin 100 times in a row and got heads 100 times in a row, would you think something's fishy with that? I would.
It stinks to high heaven. It stinks to high heaven. And what stinks equally is the fact that no one in the legacy media seems to care.
Ezra, and I don't even know who you'd complain to because they're all in on it. So it's an inside job. Chrystia Freeland, if she can abide the embarrassment of having 188 votes, well, she'll be deputy prime minister and finance minister again. Just you wait. Exactly.
They're just stage props. Ezra, how do we watch the Ezra Levant show?
Well, thanks for asking. Rebelnews.com is your gateway to all things Rebel, and I appreciate you giving me a forum to talk about this. Rebel News, we like to be video, so a lot of our people are on the streets. I know you know my friend Alexa Lavoie. She's out and about. She's doing great, and we have people across the country, so we're an alternative source of news.
Fantastic. Ezra, thank you so much. Great work on this.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Richard Serrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.